So I did something that I never do yesterday, which is I filmed half of a video and then I left it undone. And it was about Mamdani. And I decided, you know what? Let's just see what happens with the election before I finish this video. And after filming that, he won. And if you have read the title correctly, there is a massive scandal related to how that happened that I would like to discuss with you. In addition to, I feel as though people are not on the same page about exactly what this guy's real goals and beliefs are. Okay. Like I say that knowing exactly what I am saying, because people are like, what do you mean, Jesse on fire? Don't be dramatic. And I was like, I don't think I'm being dramatic. I think I am saying something out loud that it is impossible that people realize that he has said the things that he actually said. And I'm going to show you guys that in a second. But, you know, the idea that this is just like some regular progressive who just won in New York City and that this is not something we should be super concerned about is not correct in any capacity whatsoever. Your first clue being right here. Maybe you guys have heard of this gentleman who clearly was integral to his victory. You know, you guys recognize that name? You know, anything about them? Like, I don't know. The total ignoring of, rules, regulations, and the law as it relates to law enforcement, all of those things, you know, intentionally crushing currencies, history with those people in Germany in the 30s, that whole family where you got to look at anyone that they're funding and go, oh, wow, that's really concerning. And that's who is behind Mamdani. Okay. So at first, what I want to show you in this video is I want to show you what this guy actually believes. And then I'm going to tell you what is going to come now and how anyone who is not utterly terrified by what you see in this video does not understand the chessboard that you are looking at. Okay. So we're going to first go with what Mamdani actually believes. And what I mean by that are his end goals, right? Because he says this is what he wants, but he literally openly is going to tell you like what he sees for the future. And in case you guys don't understand what that means, I will help you. And then we're going to look at some other information about how the process of, selecting someone was rigged. You heard that right. And I am going to live up to showing you that. I promise. Okay. So let's get right into the first part, which is what does this guy actually believe in?
Mamdani continues to claim he is not a communist. He claims he's a democratic socialist. I don't care what label he's trying to use. If all of his ideas are communist, that makes him a communist. Let me show you what they are not telling you about on CNN.
My platform is that every single person should have housing. And I think faced with these two options, the system has hundreds of thousands of people unhoused, right? For what? And if there was any system that could guarantee each person housing, whether you call it the abolition of private property or you call it, just a statewide housing guarantee, it is preferable to what is going on right now. Mm-hmm. And I think that people try and play like gotcha games about these kinds of things. And it's like, look, I care more about whether somebody has a home.
Here he calls for the abolition of private property.
Yeah, in case anybody's unclear on what abolishing private property means, that means that none of the things that you own are yours anymore because they're going to take them and give them to someone else. And so if private property doesn't exist, then where does it go and who owns it? It's like, well, it's public property. You're like, it's public property. It's public property. Yes, no one owns it. So anyone can use it anytime. Well, no, not anyone can use it anytime. Oh, okay. Well, then, so who determines who can use what and when? Well, the government. So it's the government's then. Right. It's the government. So the government is what, though? How would you define a government? Well, it's a group of people who stop right there. Okay. Stop right there. It's a group of people. So it is owned by someone. It's owned by that group of people, not the current people who own their stuff, but a different group of people. And so I guess what we would be saying is that group of people, that they just take everything. It's all theirs now. They take it all. It's all theirs, right? So tell me again how no one owns anything. It's not private property. What are we talking about? Watch this too.
This journey and understanding that it is socialism that we are fighting for this moment right now, right? If we're talking about the cancellation of student debt, if we're talking about Medicare for all, these are issues which have the groundswell of popular support across this country. But then there are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right? Or whether it is the end goal of seizing the means of production.
He describes his end goal as seizing the means of production. But he is saying, seizing the means of production means taking away your property by force so that the government can redistribute it. Let me explain to you what has happened in every communist country. They round up the business owners and they kill them. Once they have killed off all the best and brightest people, the nation will fall into famine when nothing works anymore and millions die. I'm not joking about this. This is like if the Democrats decided that they did not like Elon Musk. So they arrest him, kill him, and take all of his money to distribute it amongst themselves. Now you might ask, why do people keep trying communism when it never works? Because the small select group of people at the top get incredibly rich.
There it is. Like I said, it's impossible for something to not be owned by anyone, okay? That's not possible. That's just not a possible thing among humans. Unless people have figured out a way to do it that I am unaware of, that's not a thing, okay? You can have your little, in our commune, no one owns anything. Well, the commune owns all of the things that are in the commune. You share them amongst yourself, okay? Sure. And that maybe works for you guys. How many people are in your commune? 200. Even 1,000. Wow. Amazing, guys. Jesse, did you just change your shirt? I did. Or I'm filming this on another day. But nonetheless, I wanted to say this. Keep in mind what I just said, okay? Because it's going to have a lot to do with where we're going to go about why everyone should be utterly terrified about what is probably their ultimate end goal. And also my ultimate end goal is to ask you guys to handshake me, subscribe to the channel, like this video, please, and keep on going. And thank you again to the 38,000 or 39,000 people who forwarded my stuff last month. I love you guys for that. Now, we're going to come back to the points that we're going to make later on when we're talking about the hippie commune versus a city versus a country, because that's really important. But first, we're going to look at what I referenced, which is how did they potentially rig this thing? Watch this, okay? Buckle up for this.
Republican Party nominated Curtis Silva. And the Working Families Party, I'm assuming, and then also the Democratic Party nominated Zohran Mamdani. Is that accurate? Zohran? It's Zohran, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Zohran. Yeah, this is a intentional misunderstanding. And let's see if I can find any more of this here. And so, and this kind of stuff, by the way, this stuff to me is very, very frustrating for me to see because it's just misinformation. It's intentional misinformation. If you designed a ballot to confuse voters on purpose, it would look exactly like this one. They asked for voter ID, right? Is this confusing? I will say this. I think that this is just my opinion, but I think having the same person on the ballot twice is really confusing to people. And
I would certainly say so. And here's another thing to consider. Okay. How about you have them on the ballot twice before you have Cuomo or Adams on once? Look at how this is set up. Look at this. Okay. Mamdani first. Mamdani again. Okay. You got Curtis Siwa right there. That's the crazy guy with the hat. Irene Estrada. I don't even know. I'm not even going to pretend. Then you got Siwa on again over here. Then you have Eric Adams, and down here in the weirdest area that is basically impossible to find if you're like, all right, so who are we voting for? It's all blah, blah, blah. And then it's all, here's Andrew Cuomo down here. Don't worry. This has nothing to do with, who the donors are and their potential manipulation. I mean, I don't know if they did this, but that is, if you're going to try to convince me that's not intentional, I am going to push back on that severely. Okay. So let me see if he covered the, if he covered the thing. I don't think he did. Okay, so check this out in case you guys did not see the following, okay? This is insane. And by the way, before I even show you this, okay, I wanted to tell you something else. So in case you do not watch O'Keefe Media, I would highly suggest that you go to his channel or his X or whatever at some point today and go look at their undercover operation where they walked into New York City, I believe it's like an immigration office or something, and they walked an illegal immigrant, undercover, it's pretending to be an illegal immigrant through the process of voting. Are they supposed to be voting? I don't think they're supposed to be voting. I don't know. Maybe that's a New York thing. And just watch how they coach them to vote, because they certainly, contributed to the shocking victory, that we saw. And now I'm going to show you more election fraud, because this was sent to me by one of my viewers this morning. And we're talking like in about 4 minutes, they go through explaining how this voting scam happened in Detroit. It is unbelievably shady. And it explains 2020. Okay. Because when this happened was in 2020, happened in Michigan. And the way that he explained how it works is exactly what I said that we would do. It's exactly what I said. I said, all you have to do is figure out who never votes, and then you could do whatever you want with that person. They're not going to vote. They never vote. So just register them somewhere and you could vote as them, absentee ballot. I said this. Listen to this. Okay. Listen to this. And then we're going to move on. Okay. Let me just go forward a little bit and where he describes it.
Doing it. When I sued, it's the election department in conjunction with the Secretary of State. When I sued them, I thought it was just our election department. So when I run my voter history, I found out I became registered to vote back here after I had license in another state. This after I found out the pattern. So when I found out the pattern, everybody who moved away is suspect. Run their voter history now, because we got to see. This is how we see. I runs my voter history, and sure enough, I moved to Ohio, and 3 months later, I become registered to vote back in Detroit at an address I never lived at. So now I say, hold on. I go to my election department. I say, I never registered to vote here on this day. I was out of state. I can prove it. Who registered me to vote? They looked at me like I had two heads. You know what I'm saying? The same with my friend. He moved out in 2018 to Roseville. He shows up registered to vote 10/9/2020. If you go get 10/9/2020, it was a massive voter registration day over in Detroit, in Michigan. It was over 100,000 people they alleging registered.
It's all of a sudden on the same day.
On that day, 10/9/2020. Now,
you hear that, guys? You hear that? October 9th, 2020, 100,000 people got registered. Now, keep in mind, this is the source, okay? So I can't verify that it's true, but according to this gentleman, who comes off extremely credible to me, he comes off credible to you, Jesse. He's black. Who is the racist again? Like the Democrats he doesn't even sound like he went to school. It's like, no, that's not what I was evaluating. I was evaluating his body language and his character. He seems like a person who is absolutely 100% telling the truth. You fucking racist over there. He doesn't even have an ID. Yeah, he does. He knows where the DMV is. That's why we think that showing ID makes perfect sense. You don't want the voter ID because you want to be able to register 100,000 people on the same day when they don't even live in the state anymore. Okay. So that's what he's saying, is that on October 9th, 100,000 people got registered to vote, and where they got registered to vote, in his case and everybody else that he checked who had left the state, was they got registered to these voter trap houses is what they called them. They were like abandoned houses. There's 1 million abandoned houses in Detroit. So they got registered as if they lived in these houses, which they definitely did not live in then and had never lived in. And then they got their votes sent in absentee ballots. So I'm just saying, So if I was going to just check how much impact 100,000 votes in Michigan would have had, let's just see. So looks like Trump lost by 150,000 votes. Including mail-in ballots that 100,000 on one day, huh? On one day, 100,000. Only lost by 150,000. I don't know. Let me tell you what I do know, though. I'm going to tell you what I would be doing if I were a group of people who wanted to implement a communist revolution in the United States, and the place was, the deck was stacked exactly as it is right now. And then I'm going to show you the rest of the video that I filmed yesterday related to the hippie commune. And then I actually have a clip of myself explaining communism to my 8-year-old daughter, which will be towards the end here. But here's why I think everyone needs to be very concerned. Okay. So if you guys remember Project 2030, right? Project 2030, you will own nothing and be happy about it. I think they called it the Great Reset, something like that, right? I can't remember. It didn't dominate my thoughts for 5 years at all. Okay, so here's the thing about that. How are you going to get someone into, like, how are you going to actually implement that in the United States? I've always wondered that, okay? And then I watched how things went between 2020, 2022, and I watched how people just kind of folded all the time. Because at the end of the day, you don't actually have any recourse, not any real recourse, if the government decides to slam down on you, okay? And even if you did have recourse, like let's say that people believe that because we have the Second Amendment, that if they really wanted to press it, that means we'll be protected. We're not, okay? We're not. Unless you can eat your gun, we're not. Now, if you live on a big piece of land and you can hunt your own food and you grow your own food, then you're good, dude. But if you are among the 99.99% of people who do not have that, you are a slave to where you get your food. And in case people have not been paying attention, everyone seems to get, I'm sorry, not everyone, the majority, like the food producers though, are being consolidated, okay? Consolidated. Why do you think there are all these people buying all this farmland, right? Because if they can control the means of production, remember that? If they control the means of production, just food, that's it. It's over. We have no power. Doesn't matter how many guns we have. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Because the only way that we would be able to get that back is we would have to actually go to civil war. Okay. You'd have to get all the guns together and we would have to go and take over the entire apparatus that is, has been seized of the food. Like, does anybody want to go to a hot war? I don't. I would much rather identify what they're probably going to do and then like nip it in the bud, because I have no plans nor support for violence ever unless my children are being threatened under any circumstances. So here's the deal. You now have an open communist as the mayor of the most important city in the country. Okay, people can pretend, oh, who cares about New York? Okay, everyone cares about New York. If it's in America. Now, you could say, I hate New York and it sucks and I don't like their policies. Okay, yeah, but you care, right? Like, you move out of there, whatever, but you can't say that New York is not relevant. It's the most relevant city, okay? So here is my whole point about the, well, actually, I might not have even made this point yet. So I'm probably stepping on my, the later part of the video, but there's a lot of other good stuff. New York City is not a hippie commune, but it's also not the United States of America, a gigantic country, okay? You can implement communist policies like public grocery stores and all of those things that this guy has talked about, which sound great to a person who doesn't understand, baseline economics. And you can put your finger on the scale in New York and make these things seem like they are wildly successful. Oh my God, I never could have imagined. Imagine if you had a grocery store, 2 blocks from your house in New York, and you could get all the sushi that you want all the time. And they have filet mignon all the time. I never thought this was going to work, but geez, Louise, I get the best food ever. And it's like, it costs half the price. It's the best. And if you're stupid, you will not realize that they're putting their finger on the scale, because we still live in a capitalist society where whoever runs the Federal Reserve, so on and so forth, can just, or just a big bank, they could vomit money in that direction and make it seem like a huge success, right? And then they show everyone in the country, like, look at what's going on there. How do you feel about it, New Yorker? They're like, listen, I was skeptical. I was very skeptical. But man, damn me if it wasn't the greatest thing ever. I got filet mignon for $6 now, and it's delicious. And you could actually get your own barbecue there. If you don't have one, they'll sell it to you for $19. Communism is great, okay? And it's all a big ruse, because at the end of the day, they will use that guy, Mamdani, who I literally watched his acceptance speech, and I'm like, oh, this is horrifying. He's all, turn up the volume, Donald Trump. And I'm like, why are you talking to Donald? Who cares about Donald Trump? Okay, Donald Trump is going to be worth $100 billion by the time this guy gets elected president, okay? Is it like, I think what you're talking to me, dude. You're talking to like people who like worked really hard to build the life they have, but they're not, not like crazy wealthy. I'm not a billionaire, right? You're talking to me, Turn up the volume, Jesse on Fire. You're an agitator. You, Jesse on Fire, are an agitator. Okay? Because when they trick the country into believing that these things can happen all across the country, and then they get him elected, hypothetically with like, I don't know, maybe if they had to move people into vacant homes to make sure that, that things happen, he wins. Okay. Well, what would you do if you were going to take over the means of production? Okay. Because I'll tell you what I would do. Okay. I'll tell you exactly what I would do. I would have a list of, I don't know, call it there's hard to say, a few hundred people. Okay. And they would be the elites that control production who are not part of our team. So that would probably be Elon, Peter Thiel, these guys who are like enemies of this side, right? And then I would also have a list of all the influencers who have influential voices, like me, as an example. Joe Rogan, I'm sure would be on that list. All my guys that will be streaming with me Thursday at 5, Valhalla VFT, Heavy Duty Country, Ian Carroll, JD DeLay, all these guys, okay? We'd be on a list. And all in one day, we would all have someone come knock on our door. They say, hey, Mr. Jesse, we have some questions for you. Do you mind coming with us? We've got a paper here that says that we're going to detain you for a short period of time. And you're like, what? They're like, it's over this thing that it says on the paper. You just need to come with us. I'm like, all right, can I talk to my wife? They're like, you have 5 minutes. And they make it seem all innocuous. I go tell my wife, I'm not really sure what this is about. Hey, where are you taking him? Oh, he'll be able to call you. I go, all right, I'll call you as soon as I get somewhere. Except that where I'm going is nowhere local. They're going to take me to whatever holding place, and they're going to put all of us that are, in the same area on a bus, and they're going to bus us to Washington, D.C. before anyone realizes that something is amiss, because they're doing the same thing to all of us. And we're all going to end up in some kind of holding area or prison or whatever in D.C., where being in a state that, like a state like ours, like we're not protected. It doesn't matter that we live in Texas because we're already gone by the time we realize what happened. And then they're like, federal law. This is what we're implementing. This is why we grabbed them. Okay. And they'll either break us to where I will have to say, like, listen, I understand what you guys are trying to do, and I will be a powerful voice for the Mamdani party of prosperity or whatever the name is, or they'll kill us, or lock us away forever. And so everybody's away, banking on strong voices that'll fight against the tyranny. We're gone. We're off the table, dude. We'll be off the table before they even start to do what they're going to do. Okay. And then after that, they will just grab everything. And all of a sudden they're going to start telling people, listen, don't need to worry about anything. You still go to the same store, yada, yada, except they control all of it. Anyone who speaks out against what's going on, they will withhold your food, social credit score, the whole nine, all of it. And it will happen just like that. Okay. Now, maybe I'm an alarmist. Maybe. Or maybe I am a brilliant human strategist that understands how people react to things. And so I can think of ways of what I would do. And maybe it's higher level than what they'll do. Maybe. But probably not. If I can think of it, they'll probably think of it too. So those are my concerns at the moment. We thought that we beat this shit. Like we really, it's embarrassing too. When I thought about it, it's like, we really thought because Trump got elected that we beat these guys. These are the most powerful people in the world. You think they're just going to tap out? They're, we lost this election. It's over. It's over. Yeah, no. We did not beat these guys at all. No, at all. Did not beat them at all. I'm terrified of them, 100%. So now let's finish the rest of the video. Well, you can have a community of 1,000 people where everybody knows each other, or at the very least, it's like small enough that everybody cares about how the other people are doing. But at the end of the day, you are always going to have leadership that is going to solve issues among the group. And if someone has a serious problem, they will get banished, kicked out, right? Or worst case scenario, buried in the ground. Okay. You can't run a country like a hippie commune. That's not how the world works. And it's been tried. And to the point that was just made, what they always do, the way that this always happens is they galvanize the masses against the wealthy people because they make them out to be these evil, greedy people and the reason why people are poor, which is not true in any case, most cases, certainly not in our case in America. That's not why people are poor, okay? Because in almost every case they got wealthy because they are smarter, more bright, and better at things. Now, whether they went into finance or not, I mean, people could argue about, well, what did the billionaires at Bear Stearns do? Okay, sure. But guess what? Okay, if we got put in a position where finance was no longer the way to get wealthy and you needed to create and produce things, it would be those guys who would figure out a way to do it. Okay, like I'm not talking about like all of them, but the top guys. Okay, Elon Musk, you kill Elon, kill Bezos, kill off Mark Zuckerberg. You're killing off the most intelligent problem solvers in the world. Okay, now I'm no fan of Bill Gates, right? But clearly Bill Gates is a person with global vision, right? But here's the thing. At the end of the day, when it comes to communism, there's always a driving force behind it. And in the case that we are looking at, I have a feeling Bill Gates might be one of them. Now, why do you think that is? Because they are the ones who own everything. They're literally going to seize every single thing. They take your private property and the means of production. So the way that things are made, the way that things are distributed, and everything that already exists becomes theirs. That's why they want to do it. Now, I don't know what this clown's motivations are. He might be stupid enough to believe that this is going to work this time, or he might be a stone villain. He's either a moron or a villain. There's no middle ground, okay? Oh, well, he really wants to solve homelessness. That's fine. Then he's a moron. If he thinks that seizing private property and seizing the means of production is the way that we're going to do that, then he's an idiot, okay? Like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because what's going to happen is everyone's going to become poor. Okay, you're not going to make the poor people live better. You're going to make everyone live like the poor people. That is how that works. And many people are going to die because every single time they do, if we didn't have the Second Amendment, they would have done it to us already. So that is the potential new mayor of New York City. So just add that onto your list of concerns. So this is my 8-year-old daughter, who would have every excuse in the world to not understand why what he just said is totally insane. But let's see if she is smarter than that guy, okay? Georgia, this is a very simple question. Is it possible for someone to not own a thing? Like if you go into someone's home and you see that there is a toy, right? Is it possible that no one owns that thing? Like it's just there. And it's not the person whose house it is, or it's not another kid. Like someone owns it, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Like whose house is this?
Mine.
Ours, right? Okay, so if you know that it's not possible for someone not to own, or like for things to have no owners, then when someone says that they want to get rid of all private property, what that means is that instantaneously, this is no longer our home. Okay. So this is not ours anymore. We're now just living there. So if it's not ours, then whose is it? Okay. Because it doesn't belong to everyone. Like that's not possible. It doesn't belong to everyone because someone is going to live in said house or said apartment or said whatever. And so whoever tells people who is going to live there, they are now the owners. Okay. And what that means is people like that fraud are saying, we're just going to take all of your stuff and we're going to own it. And then maybe we'll let you use it. Like you bought it, you own it now, but we're going to get rid of private property because there's homelessness in the country. Let me ask you this, Georgia. Do you think it would be fair if the government just suddenly decided that we no longer own this house and they were like, hey, this isn't yours anymore. You guys bought it, but it's now someone else's. They're going to live there. Or they're like, hey, there's 6 other families that are going to come live here. And all of you are actually just going to go live in mommy and daddy's room. All of us. Is that fair? Would you think that's cool? Would you think that that's a good way to live?
No.
Right.
We wouldn't have the kitchen, so what would we eat?
That's a really good point. Now, check this out too. So I am a YouTuber, podcaster, content creator, right? And mommy does her work, right? And she worked really hard to get to where she got to go, right? What if tomorrow a bunch of people with guns came here and they were like, hey, you no longer get to be a YouTuber and mommy never gets to do what she does ever again. And starting tomorrow, you are going to be a contractor and your job is going to be putting wood onto panels for the rest of your life. Does that seem like something that's reasonable to do?
No.
Okay, so that's how communism works, guys. Let's continue and listen to some of his other fucking genius ideas.